you, DT. So do I. Look at this. The hair is everywhere. It is just so long. It is absolutely mad. Welcome to the United Stand. What's happening, people? How you doing? Got DT on today. How you doing?
I'm all right, mate. I've got to that point now where I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'm just dealing with lockdown, man. I look like a hobo. I just absolutely ridiculous. It is. I am at the point now. I am thinking about doing it myself next week. I see that Goldbridge was talking about cutting his own hair. You know, man's going to look like Lloyd Christmas. He's finished cutting it, but I'm thinking about doing it. The beard, I'm not too worried about because I think that I can trim this up quite easy because it's kind of like there. The basis of it is there. I know it's just about having a steady hand, but the hair,
it's a different thing. Different thing.
Boy, I could end up looking like Sadio Mane if I get too mad.
Yeah, it's all mad. It's all mad. Right, let's get straight into it, man. I mean, the video title says it. DT says suspend the Premier League. I know you and Robbie have been going at it, and there's just a lot of conflicting opinions over what should or shouldn't happen. A lot of players at various different clubs, not just the ones that are coming up the most, that are saying it. And I suppose there's always going to be opinion in this. Always. Do you know what I mean? There is no right or there is no wrong. We're in a time that we've never seen before, ever. So there's going to be different things. And I know it's a priority-based thing. You know, my priorities might be different to yours, might be different to this person's, might be different to that person's. I absolutely get it. What's your reasoning in kind of saying, let's suspend the Premier League? And in suspending it, what do you mean by that?
What I will say about the situation is that although things are starting to look like they're improving with the numbers going down, and we don't just mean deaths, we mean the infection rate and everything else. If you look at the statistics, then we're led to believe that we are starting to get a control of it. But my issue is at the moment that I still feel there's going to be a second wave coming, because ever since the lockdown was lifted in certain respects 2 weeks ago, people have just been, to put it bluntly, taking the piss. You know, we all saw over the weekend Southend Beach and whatnot, and it's like, where's the common sense gone? And I just fear that very soon we're going to have that second spike, because coronavirus doesn't just, you know, appear after a day. You know, you could have it for a couple of weeks and then it starts to, you know, come out and everything else. And, you know, you see some of the positive test results at this week from the players. I think there was 3 at Watford alone. Adrian Mariappa, who we both know, tested positive. And what was scary about him was that there's no symptoms. He was like,
you couldn't work out how he got it.
You know, I was ready and hungry and ready to go. And, you know, and I just feel that we'd be better off preparing for next season, because I feel that everything's going to be too crammed in. You're going to try and finish this season. You're then going to have minimal pre-season and whatever's happening, and then trying to go into next season. I feel that what we should be doing in terms of a guideline is going the way that France and Holland have, and just saying, look, get rid of everything now. Let's not worry about it. Let's, as a nation, get back on our feet and worry about more important things. And then we can deal with football in September, end of August, start of September, when we will be a lot more clearer in terms of, you know, where the virus is and where we're at as a nation. Because the last thing I want is for us to get going and then all of a sudden there's this mad rush of positive results. There's games having to stop because players have gone into quarantine. You know, we're already hearing stories about players that don't want to go into training. I was listening to Jamie Redknapp and he was saying that there's a lot of players scared of coming out and saying they don't want to go in, because
I remember saying that as well.
There's going to be this whole thing about, oh, you're a footballer, you get paid loads of money. And I'm seeing footballers being compared to NHS workers and stuff like that. And I'm like, use your brain for a second. You know, an NHS worker is a vital part. They're a key worker. You know, we need NHS workers. Right now, we don't need footballers. We don't need football. I would love football to come back. You would love it. Mark would love it. Everyone would love it. Trust me, I would love nothing more than the Premier League to come back. But I just feel that they're trying to push so many things through when it's very clear that not everything is set in stone. There's things that just seem to have unanswered questions. I was listening to what Troy Deeney was saying as well. And one of the issues that he has is about ethnic minority and, you know, the way that the coronavirus affects, you know, people of ethnic minorities. And do they have specific testing for them? Is there certain guidelines in place for them? No. Are they going to get a proper schedule of pre-season kind of training before they go into the games? No. It's kind of like come into training 1 week, next week you do another, and then you're going straight back into competitive Premier League games. And it just feels all rushed for me. It just feels too like they're all trying to just push it like too soon for me. And, you know, I see Danny Ceballos was doing an interview yesterday, and I don't know whether he inadvertently admitted a date for when the Premier League's coming back, but he said we're coming back on the 20th of June or something. I think it was the 20th of June. So I don't know if that's kind of an area that they're looking at, or whether the players and officials have been said, that's the date. Got to keep it quiet at the moment, but that's the date what we're looking at. I just feel everything's been pushed.
Okay. I feel there's a lot of what you say there, which 100% I agree with in terms of, you know, they are trying to get it back as quickly as safely possible. But the thing I wanted to touch on there is, because I was thinking about it, is, you know, when you said like we don't need football back, like it's not a key worker thing. It's not essential. I understand that, but what we're starting to see in society is various occupations come back to work that aren't key workers, especially by the time football they start playing games, which will be mid to late June. You see how McDonald's was open back up, for example, yeah, and KFC. You live in Luton, we live here. You've seen the queues that go out round the car park back into the road, can't even get into there because McDonald's have opened up the drive-through. They've made the necessary safety precautions that they deem safe for their employees to be able to come back in a reduced capacity, yeah? But I'm saying, like, well, hold on. I went to KFC as well. I went to KFC, and when the guy was serving me, I was like, I was looking through the back, like when they're walking past each other, getting this drink or getting that meals and fries or whatever, yeah? And like, I was like, hold on a minute. He doesn't have, and she doesn't have the ability to say, oh, I want to get tested, I want to be tested and stuff like that or whatever. I don't know their financial situation, but there isn't this big kickoff that McDonald's is coming back and the drive-thru's open. No one's going. It's absolutely outrageous that KFC is allowed to come back, when that's just because we want KFC. It wasn't needed. It's a luxury. Our main food stores, supermarkets like Tesco and Sainsbury's, all of the top ones, yeah, whatever, we can get our food. The corner shop, we can get our food. But the luxury, like, it's just nice to have a Big Mac and chips. It's not it's not a necessity. But those things are starting to come back. Like, and then from June the 1st, you're going to get some retail coming back. So that might be some shops that sell clothes, or some shops that sell shoes, or, you know, some. So yeah. I'm like, so where I'm thinking of it from the other side of the argument is that if you have a specific reason, like because of your family and like what Troy Deeney said, and other footballers, not just Troy Deeney, because it's like this infatuation with Watford, like it's just them. There's loads of other players saying this as well. And I get that, 100%, I get that. But then if you look at it from the other side, it's like football is like the safest place in the whole of England to go back to work. Like the man in KFC, he can't. I was thinking, I bet he doesn't know if that lady walked past him, who's his colleague, passing him the fries, passing him a can of Coke. He doesn't know if she's got coronavirus or not. He doesn't know where she's going after this. Whereas the footballers have, I don't want to say luxury, have that reassurance. So I get the fact where people are coming from in terms of actually, technically that Watford training ground or that Man United training ground or that Bournemouth training ground or whoever, now you've identified who does and doesn't have it. It's actually safer going into that kind of thing as opposed to just normal society. Do you see what I mean?
I see what you mean. The issue that we have is, for example, the Adrian Mariappa situation. He goes into training, doesn't have any symptoms, doesn't realize he has it.
Oh, he didn't go into training though. That's the thing.
No, he went into training to have the test. So what I'm saying is that I don't know what the criteria exactly is, but they're not getting tested every single day.
No, they're getting tested a couple times a week.
So to what's to say the same scenario doesn't happen like the team that are in Bundesliga 2. I can't think of their name now, but they went back into training. They had everything all set up perfectly right. The Bundesliga and Germany are a million miles ahead of, the Premier League and the UK in terms of coronavirus. But yet in between a period of being tested, and it's like, that's my issue. How do you know what happens? Do you lock these players away for 2 months on end? Do you just push them away?
I think quarantine would make sense, though. I do think that, DT. Like almost like when they go away for pre-season tour, if they go away for a World Cup, I know not all players get to do that, but I do agree that making them have a couple of tests when they haven't got it when they play the game, great. You know that all parties in the stadium, the empty stadium, don't have it, great. But if you do allow the players to then, you go home, then as the lockdown restrictions ease in England, they're going here, they're going there, the missus might go there, someone who lives in a house might go there. It is different, but then again, they could pick it up because they're getting tested more regularly. So that does counterproduct it. But I do think they probably should maybe stay away.
I get what you're saying, but also we need to look at a bigger picture in this. And it's not just about 22 men on a football pitch having a game of football. There's a wider scale to getting a football game on. Now, to get a game on, you also got to supply NHS staff because you need medical people by the pitch side in case of serious injuries, broken legs, that's the kind of stuff. You're going to need policing because you've got to have policing simply to stop people going to the stadiums. Because that's one of the big issues, that people are going to try and sneak in or wait outside or whatever it might be. You was at a behind the games closed door before we went into lockdown.
I didn't sneak in. I was supposed to be there. I had official credit.
But there were people outside.
Yeah, there was.
Like peer through the gates and shout and sing and let their voices be heard and stuff. So you think there's a course, there's 20 Premier League teams. So there's a course of 10 matches over the course of a weekend. If you multiply how many NHS staff are needed, how many police officers are needed, and they're needed elsewhere at the moment, and it's not just about 22 men playing a game of football. It's not a case of just going over Hackney Marshes, let's have a game. We've all been tested. It's all clear. It's all fine. Yeah, that's, there's so much involved into getting a game on. And when you multiply it by how many games there actually are, you're going into hundreds and hundreds of people, and you've got to make sure that everybody is clear. And it just feels like you're just pushing so much so soon when it would be a lot easier. And I'm not saying, and let me make this very clear as well, I'm not saying don't award Liverpool the title. For all the Liverpool fans that love to watch United stand, because we know, they do. They love to watch AFTV and everything as well anyway. But it's not about that. Give Liverpool the title. It goes to a points per game ratio. There's relegation, there's European places, like what they've done in Scotland, like what they're doing in France, like what they're talking about doing in League 2 and League 1 and everything else. And people need to understand this, because I keep getting people saying to me, you only want the season to finish and go next year because Arsenal are this, that, the other, and blah, blah, blah. It's more beneficial for the season to finish for Arsenal than it is not. Because we might be ninth in the table, yeah?
Yeah, but you ain't going to get top four.
Listen, let me explain something to you. And I'm going to come here.
You are going to get top 4, I'll tell you that.
I'm going to come here.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
Do not think that I come here empty-handed. All right? Listen. Now, let me explain something, yeah? We're 5 points behind Manchester United with a game in hand. All right?
Yeah, but you're going to get backed by City.
Wait, listen, Flex, you can't actually say that.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
I know, but you know as well, Man City are beatable. You've beaten them twice in 2020 alone.
Yeah.
You know, you faced one side of Manchester City where they battered you at Old Trafford, and then you faced the other side where you learnt from that and you've beaten them twice.
Yeah, but that's us.
No. Yeah, but but you say that again, but who was Manchester United's last defeat against in the Premier League? Arsenal. So, and this was under Mikel Arteta as well. Arsenal are the only team in the Premier League not beaten in the Premier League in 2020. We haven't been beaten since December. So there's this.
You feel you're going to go on and get fourth?
No, but what I'm trying to say is that people seem to think that because we had such a bad start to the season and everything was up in the air with Unai Emery and everything else, they're not actually seeing that there has been improvements under Mikel Arteta, and that it's more beneficial for us to finish the season than it is not, because if the season
that's not where your agenda is coming from. Yeah, I hear you.
No, because if the season finishes now as it is, we don't even get Europa League football. We get nothing. And people might laugh and go, Europa League football, but that's a lot of money in the coffers to the owners to maybe get players or whatever it might be. You know, Manchester United, you don't get Champions League football. Unless, of course, Manchester City's ban gets upheld and you get the 5th place scenario. But with us, like I said, we're 5 points behind Manchester United with a game in hand. All right, we're 8 points behind Chelsea with a game in hand, and they've got the final guaranteed 4th one. It's not inconceivable that Arsenal can go and get that.
But is that fair? Is that fair on you think about like putting ourselves into the positions of the clubs where their Premier League status hangs in the balance? Your Norwiches, your Bournemouths, your Watfords, your West Hams, your Aston Villas, yeah? And it's a different mindset supporting the clubs that we do, because, you know, we're very, very rarely, if not ever, in that position. Yeah, we've been relegated in our history. Arsenal haven't. I get that. But I'm talking about in modern day football. Yeah, just before you come with it. But I don't know. Yeah, but I don't know, because Arsenal have never been down.
You know the funny thing as well? I think it was Dennis Law that actually relegated you once. When he went to Man City.
Hey, listen, mate, we've had some bad times. But what I'm saying is, though, in all honesty, if you try and put yourself in their shoes, and you were talking about the points per game thing, yeah? The reason why I wouldn't want to see that is I just feel like you just spoke there about, well, we could have carried on and we could have made it up, or we could have done this. It's the same principle by doing it on the points per game. Yeah, you could say that Watford, I don't know, on the points per game didn't have as many wins as, say, Villa, who were just out of it and on the balance of play. And they work it out by dividing this by that. And it means that Watford probably weren't going to be up there. Or Bournemouth probably were going to stay up. Or West Ham probably weren't, because they've lost this amount of away games. So if you make the average, it means that they probably would have lost 4 more away games, which would relegate them. That doesn't sit comfortable with me, man. I feel like that's unfair. Imagine teams going down on the case of like just a simple maths equation. I think you either kill it and don't hand out anything. And I know, and that's not just the Man United hat, because I don't want to see Liverpool win the thing. I've said that. Even if it was us far out ahead by 30 points or whatever they're ahead of by, yeah, I would still say if you can't complete it, it's just fair for everyone to just stay as they were across the whole pyramid. Because also, what about the teams that, like, again, thinking of like the smaller clubs who need like gate receipts, they need money to be able to, there's talks of like League One clubs potentially going out of business, some Championship clubs, maybe even smaller Premier League clubs. So, you know, Man United have to pay 20 million back in revenue for the broadcasting thing because of the games that haven't been played yet. I read somewhere that Man United had to pay 4 million for the game we didn't even play at Spurs. You know, so we can afford to do that, great. But what about your teams who can't afford to do that? So that's another reason why I can see why they're trying to get football back to actually help football, is existence.
I get what you're saying. I understand every point of the argument, and nobody is going to be happy There's going to be winners, there's going to be losers in all of this. If the season goes to a points per game, then Arsenal are one of the losers. You know, if Manchester City's ban doesn't get upheld and they're allowed in the Champions League, Manchester United become a loser.
Exactly.
You know, and I was looking at League One and stuff like that. Tranmere Rovers would get relegated into League Two. They are 3 points behind AFC Wimbledon with a game in hand.
Chasing it, yeah.
It's not their fault they've played a game less. And do you know what I mean? There's going to be winners and losers. And we're in unprecedented times. We're in a situation that I don't think anybody has even planned for. There's no contingency for this. So me personally, I'm just saying it from a perspective that I just feel that getting this country back on its feet is more important than pushing football back. I feel as a country, we just need to get everything back to normal. We're still in, say we're in lockdown, but half of the people don't even listen to it.
Yeah.
We're a million miles away from being back to normal. You know,
but that's the thing there, DT. You see that there? People who watch, I've said that a lot of the time, which is like we all strive as human beings for the N word, normal, yeah. And like we're so far away from it. But you see there where you said like you want us to get back to normal, and I kind of see like the fact that football slowly comes back, or people going back to work, or this that. I see it as a positive thing of something that does resemble a little bit of, in inverted commas, normality, like a little bit of like, do you know what I mean? Like a little bit of like, okay, you know what? At some point, we kind of got to dip our toe into the unknown waters. There's always going to be this risk until there's a vaccine. Nothing's 100% done or 100% safe. And I just feel like if other walks of life that aren't essential are coming back, I think that sports should be part of that movement. Now, what I do think is that if individually, and I know it always goes back to Troy Deeney, but any individual player has their own reason why they don't want to play, or they can't play, or don't want to play, I think 100% champion that. It's your choice, because you know what? We all got different moments in our life. We all got different priorities. We all got different needs. But what I'm against is if everyone then goes, I tell you what, we're going to get behind this player, and kind of like a revolt. If they won't play, I won't play, then we get no football. Because I'm saying, like, if there's like, I don't know, how many hundreds of footballers are there in the Premier League? Hundreds and hundreds, 600, 700, I don't know. That's just a rough guess, yeah? If you're saying to me that 50 players don't want to play out of 800, that's fine. We've got 750 players here who will play, so we can continue the competition. And if things change and someone else drops out, or this drops out, because Jamie Redknapp was saying it's not fair that some of the players won't play. So it might not be fair on Watford if Troy Deeney don't play. If Aubameyang pulls out, it's not fair on Arsenal. They've lost their best goal scorer. Well, it won't be fair for us if Pogba don't want to. Well, Pogba won't be playing all season. If Martial don't want to play or whatever, but then. I get that, but that's kind of like, it's just a bit of tough luck. Like, if your player chooses not to play, but all the rest want to play, it's just how it goes. It's like an injury. It's not fair.
But you see, the counter argument to that would be, how is it fair when somebody like a Troy Deeney, for example, is protecting his 5-month-old child? He's not turning around and saying, I'm not coming back because I'm selfish and because I just don't want to go. I'm scared for my own safety, so to speak. He's scared about the safety of his 5-month-old son.
Which is why he should be allowed to not play, though. I agree with
that. But then, how is that fair on the club? Because you can sit there in one argument, like what you're saying then, it's kind of, it's tough, really, kind of. But it's not tough. It's kind of, it is unfair, because you're losing your best player, for example, through no fault of their own, not because of selfishness, not because they're just being petulant and don't want to play, because they're protecting their family. There's I can't remember which player it was, man, and I was doing something on one of my daily shows, and
you had it with Ozil. You had it with Ozil when that thing happened. He wasn't in the right vein to. I know there's banter, Ozil ain't played good for ages or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, he had to take time out because of that.
I know what you're saying. And there's a Premier League player, I think it might be an Aston Villa player, I'm not 100% sure, but there was definitely a Premier League player who lives with all of his family. He's obviously a foreign player, and it's very common for all of the family to all live together in one home when they're over here. And his mother-in-law is in remission. So he's refusing to go in because that's one of the highest categories of risk. They're in remission from cancer. So he doesn't want to go in.
I agree with that.
And so again, this player, how's that fair on the team that they've lost? Could be potentially, we don't know who they are, their best player. Like you said, it could be an Aubameyang. You know, if Aubameyang says, I don't want to go in because, you know, my wife's got such and such and it's too risky. How's that fair on us to lose our best goal scorer through no fault of anyone? So why not suspend the season, finish it as it is, and go when nobody has these problems? And police car going past, welcome to Luton. But, you know, why not have it in a time when it would be more safer? We could be further down the line in terms of where we are as a nation. I don't think we'll have a vaccine by then, but we'll be in an environment where we'll be able to say, you know what, it is safer. We have got over a second wave. We have got real control of the virus, etc., etc. And these players then have that reassurance of saying, okay, it's safe for me to come in now. It's better for me to come in now. I just feel at the moment, there's arguments for it either way.
There is. There's no right or wrong with this. This is the I don't want to say beauty of it, because it's not we don't want to be in this situation. You know, this isn't a good thing. But I mean, this is, I suppose, the beauty of conversation, really, and opinion, because there is no real right or wrong. The thing, what Dini said that I liked, not just the fact that it's because of his family, but the biggest thing, my ears pricked up, was actually him saying, they want to take money from me, take money from me. I've been broke before. And that feeds into this argument, which is back to your average person at KFC. I keep going back to that because I feel like it's a really relatable argument, If your employer then says, okay, if you feel like that, or not even feel like that, if that's your reality in your family situation, to make you even safer or whatever, we'll put you in a hotel, keep you away, give you more tests or whatever. They do whatever they deem to make it even safer. And then you say, I don't want to do that. To me, that was almost like Troy was saying, there's a chance that you could take money from me because I'm refusing to go back, although everything's been set out. And I liked that, because he's basically saying, I'm not saying I don't want to play, but you must give me all my money and all of that. Because really, you could end up in a position where your average man who, say, works at Primark, when Primark comes back into play and they open again, at what point do we start having employers going, I tell you what, we've made it as safe as it possibly can be, but you're still refusing to come to work, when the rest of society we've been instructed by the government, we're starting to go back and whatever. We're not going to pay you, or you have to take unpaid leave. I'm just putting that out there as a thing that potentially could happen. That could happen. That, don't get me wrong, people are probably going to get their unions involved, and no one should be made to go to work. I 100% agree with that. I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm just bringing it up as a conversation point in terms of, well, then, so where does the employer stand? If I employ you, DT, and I say, so if you employ me and you say, Flex, I've got you all the PPE to come back to work. I've got you social distancing in the office. I've got you on a rota system where there's only 5 people in the office where there used to be 25 people in the office. It is safe for you now, Flex. I've got you 2 tests a week, Flex. My company's coming back up and running, and I employ you. And I go, DT, boy, I just don't want to come back. I don't feel it's safe right now. That's fine. It's my right to do that. Are you, as an employer who's, you've got outgoings, you need to get upgoing, you need to get business back through the door to even be able to pay me? Are you then going to say, well, Flex, I don't know, man, I can give it to you I can give you a full month's pay for a month or so, but after that, I might have to put you on 80% or then 60%, because I can't really afford to keep giving you it at that rate if you're not going to be here. I get that's your situation, Flex, but you've got to think of it. I've got to run this business which actually pays you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but the other flip side to that as well is that the furlough scheme's been extended anyway. So if businesses were in a situation like that and they really needed the help of the government, then it's there for them to get that help. And I also do think that there's a big difference between somebody refusing to go in without a valid reason and somebody that won't go in because they're protecting a family member who could potentially die. So every case, every scenario, it's all different. Every case is different. Every argument's different. And it's just, you know, on a footballing term, it's more detrimental to Arsenal to not finish the season. And from an Arsenal perspective, from a Manchester United perspective, it would be worse to not finish the season because, you know, we are the two informed teams in the Premier League. You know, you take away your Liverpools and your Manchester Cities, all right, because they're a million miles ahead of everyone. But below that, the two informed teams in the Premier League in 2020 are Manchester United. Arsenal, Manchester United and Arsenal. Man United's last defeat was in January against Arsenal, and Arsenal have not lost a Premier League game in 2020. So if you can't see that both teams are making strides to go towards the goals that they want to achieve, then you're just being stubborn and you're just not looking at the bigger picture. You're just seeing it as like, oh, Arsenal, they've been poor and X, Y, Z and this, that. The only issue that Arsenal have had this season, despite the fact that we've been so poor and we had all them problems with Unai Emery, is that we've drawn too many games.
Yeah,
we've lost
mate.
less games than Manchester City. Seriously. You know, we turn a few of those draws into wins, we'd be comfortably in the top three. But we haven't been able to.
Likewise, mate. Likewise, yeah.
And that's the thing. Even at the start of Mikel Arteta's reign, you know, he went through this period of drawing games. But he was in a period where he was like, I want to stabilize the team. We're conceding 25 to 30 shots a game.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen anymore. Gary Neville famously come out and said that you can't coach the Arsenal defenders. I think it's very obvious that since Mikel Arteta's come in, that he's actually coaching them and that we're actually looking better defensively. Again, I'll go straight back to the point of Manchester United. We played you. You didn't score past us. We beat you 2-0 at the Emirates. You know, we're tightening up. We've gone from conceding 25 shots a game to 7-8. Standard kind of, you know, measures. So it's a gradual process and it's more beneficial for both of us as a club to finish the season. But me personally, I'm looking at it from a point of view of, I don't think the country's ready to go back at the moment. I just feel as a whole, we're not ready as a country. And we need to take a little bit more time. I think it would be a lot easier and a lot better to take stock, regroup, and let's go again, you know, in a few months' time when we've really got to do everything. And let's also stop thinking about just the Premier League. Let's think about all the other, you know,
other leagues as well. Yeah.
The Championship. I heard a rumor this week or a story this week saying about after the first lot of testing for the Championship clubs, they've then got to fund their own testing.
They need the money filtered down. That's it. This is it. They need the help.
I'm sorry, but if you've got to ask clubs to fund testing for them to come back to football, then it's not safe. Why should they be digging their hands in their pocket when they're losing out on gate receipts and things like that?
And this goes back to the money where I'm like, I think if football can come back and they can work out ways to help push that money further down the pyramid, to help, because to see clubs go extinct out of this and to see people out of work within football out of this is obviously going to be an awful situation. On the money situation, speaking about transfers and how this affects clubs, your club, you know, you've had players taking wage, not deferrals, cuts. Deferrals or cuts? Which one?
Wage cut. They've actually took wage cuts for a year.
Cuts. Right, there you go. So wage cuts from Arsenal. Have Arsenal... You know, I saw that you were linked with some players and stuff like that, Rabiot, and you know, there's always talk about Pamecano and Partey and all this stuff, yeah? Which, you know, we're linked with a lot as well. And we, you know, our shareholder meetings come out yesterday, and obviously we're at a loss as well. But we can afford to pay off what we need to do and still be competitive in the transfer market. That's, you know, the situation we're in. We haven't furloughed anyone. You know, that's just how Man United's run. With the clubs that aren't run like that, like an Arsenal or I don't know, Liverpool or whoever else it might be, a Tottenham, let's say. Are you going to be able to go and get what you want in this next transfer window. How would it look to Aubameyang if he's taken a whatever percentage pay cut for a year, say he stays or whatever, and then Arsenal go and spend 70 million, 50 million, 60 million on Thomas Partey? So hold on a minute, mate. You just put me on flipping, just took my wages off me for a year, saying we're struggling, and you're out here spending this amount of money, and the man's going to come on 120 grand a week. Are you going to be in a bad position?
The thing is with Arsenal is that we've never really spent money anyway because of our own. So none of us are getting our hopes up in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
that it's going to be any different. If anything, it gives Stan Kroenke an excuse now to not spend any money. The issue with Aubameyang is that, you know, he's our second highest paid player at the club. He's on about 200 grand a week, I think it is. So I don't think bringing anyone in, even like a Thomas Partey, would upset Aubameyang in terms of wages, because you're not going to give Thomas Partey over 200 grand a week.
All right, maybe not Aubameyang, but other players within the squad, important players.
Yeah, well, when you sit there and you say that, but then there's a lot of our players that are earning too much anyway, so they got a cheek to look at anyone else because you know you've not been performing to earn the wage that you've got anyway.
But you'd be pissed though, surely. You'd be pissed if I'm your employer and I said to you, DT, you got to take a wage cut for a year because we're on hard times, and then a transfer window opens and I bring in more workers into the office and on big money, or I bought them for big money, 50 million, 60, you're going to go, Flex, you told me we were flipping struggling, mate. I didn't expect to see any new faces. We can't even afford to pay the ones we got.
The thing is as well, what you've got to look at with the business is that football is completely different to other aspects of business. So players will have an understanding that, you know, money comes in from sponsors. Money comes in from all other revenues, which will start again next season. If the season goes again, if fans are allowed back in the stadium, you know about the revenues. Arsenal and Manchester United, again, we're the two highest in terms of revenue for match days. There's no other team in the Premier League that get more match day revenue than Arsenal and Manchester United. So players will have that understanding that you can bring players in. And as a football club as well, as a player, you surely want your team to improve. So surely you're looking, you know, from Manchester United's point of view, you could be looking and going, yeah, you know what, I understand why Jadon Sancho is coming, because he's going to elevate us to not just challenging for the top four, but being comfortably in the top four and maybe making that step to challenge the top two. You know, and if a player hasn't got that mindset, then they're not for you. Get them.
But this is where I think the human element comes into it, though, because you know we always say we forget that footballers are humans as well, and regardless of what money you're on, your human element, your innate thing of fairness and wanting to be treated equally, like we've seen with the Alexis thing, yeah, like he come in on 400 grand a week. I don't care what no one says. That rocks the changing room. It rocks it, especially in a time if you've been asked to take less money. Yeah, you might see it as for footballing reasons, like we need better players, we want to kick on, we want to achieve stuff as a football club. But as a man to man, if I've been told, I'm just saying how I feel anyway. If I've been told I have to receive less money for a whole year, you know, not like 2 months until we get that, a whole year, let's say, and then during that year, a transfer window comes and I see a player come from Spain for big money on big wages. I'm like, well, if you didn't buy him, you could have shared out that money and then topped me up. I wouldn't help but think like that because I'm human. Do you know what I mean?
We do get, I don't know whether we get it, but we do kind of have that argument in a sense of Mesut Ozil, because how many players think,
hey, Turkish every week, 350 grand a week.
You know what I mean? So you never know. If I was a Manchester United player, the one thing I'd be looking at is that if Jesse Lingard was earning more than me, then I know that something weren't right.
Well, there you go. And he signed a new deal back before. He signed it. I mean, he's got a new agent now, so he's probably looking for a move. But this is what I'm saying. I don't care who you are, whether it's Sunday League football, like we're playing down Lucy Park, and someone gets picked ahead of you, right up to, you know, elite level football where you're talking about millions of pounds. It matters. It does. Dane Summer, thanks for the contribution. We're nearly 2,000 watching now. He says they should play crowd noises through the speakers at stadiums to give the game some atmosphere. Would that be too dud for you, or would you think that could run?
I've been through it before when Arsenal knocked the North Bank down and we had a mural. So we had that already. Listen, we're kind of like way before our times, man. Do you know what I mean? We've really tried and tested it, but I see that. I think it was Liverpool, Arsenal, and someone else. I can't remember who it was. There's apparently a new app out, and it apparently sends noises through to the stadium from your home. You can download the app on your phone. You have 5 different sound effects, from cheering to booing and whatever. And apparently, like the delay between it is like so minimal. It's literally instantaneous. You sit at home, you press the button, and it all comes out on a loudspeaker at home. Now,
I'm on that.
You imagine. Like, I know when you initially feature yourself, can you imagine just pressing a button and you've got like a horn, like a carnival?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, but no, you imagine thousands all pressing their buttons just during the minute. All you're just going to hear is just, it's good. I don't know how that would work, man. But after watching the first round of games in the Bundesliga, the one thing that I found was just how it just felt eerie. It felt so like a player kicked the ball and you could hear that kick 5 seconds after through the echo.
Yeah.
And it was just, I was like, this just feels so weird.
It was mad. And like you said, the last game I did was behind closed doors, and we did kind of chance it going out there. We did have accreditation anyway, but we chanced it in terms of it. We knew it could have got cancelled, but you know from you guys how hard you worked, the dedication to the cause. So we went anyway. And it was a surreal experience. I didn't even feel like I was at a professional match. Like when the players were walking out, the shitty Europa League music was playing, which we hate anyway. I know your son loves it, but we hate it. But it was so surreal. Like hearing the players word for word, hearing the managers on the touchline word for word. I was shouting things out on the TV. People could hear me.
I texted you.
Yeah, you did.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
I literally texted you, and I remember I WhatsApped you, and I was like, "Flex, I can hear you on the telly, man."
It was so funny.
Like, yeah, that's me.
It was me and Josh. Josh done a few. Josh was just shouting out. Josh was the one who was shouting out, Bruno, and I shouted out. I did one for McTominay. I was like, Scott, and I was like, doing Bruno.
The thing is, I didn't realize that Josh was inside the stadium because he's never normally in the stadium.
Yeah, it's only because we had the accreditation.
Yeah, because
he was in there.
Because I wish I'd have known he was in there.
Funny.
I would have messaged him and got songs to the team he actually supports. And then, could you imagine that going out on the television?
It was hilarious, but it did make me think. Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is just like watching youth football. Like it's mad. Like it is mad. But I think it kind of goes back to whether you want football to come back or not. I saw a lot of people on Twitter after that first round of games in the German league. I watched the Dortmund game. Some people were just straight onto Twitter saying it's shit, this is crap, and I'm just like, I'm past saying that though, because I've just accepted what this is for now. And that's how it's going to look for a long time. Even when it's safer to come back to football, there ain't going to be fans there. There ain't going to be fans there all of this year for sure. It could even be. I mean, could they? Do you reckon? You speak about how important money is in gate receipts. I can't see it happening, but do you reckon that they could like not have fans for all of next season? All of next season, 9 months, plus the rest of this season.
You know what? Me and Robbie had this discussion on the podcast last week, and I said to him, because he spoke to me about social distancing measures for fans at a stadium. And I said, it's too difficult to control. I said, even if you try and get 10, 15,000 people in a stadium, right? I said, you have 6-7 games over the course of a Saturday. I said, that's 60, 70,000 people, right? I said, you need the police to manage that at all of these different stadiums. You need all the medical staff and everything else. And I said, and then how do you keep those people apart? It's all well and good saying you've got to have 3 seats between like Manchester City are going to be buzzing because it'd be like a normal home game.
Yeah, exactly. They play the music through the tannoy anyway to simulate the noise.
They're absolutely fine. But how are you going to manage the people going into the stadium? You talk about, he said, well, can you not like have a queuing system where you have an allotted time to get into the stadium? I said, Robbie, man, you've got to get 10,000 people into a stadium. You would have to start getting people to queue up from 9 a.m. for a 3 p.m. game. I said, could you imagine if you're one of the lucky ones that's got a ticket to the game, and then you have a look at your allotted time and they're like, you must be in the stadium at 9 a.m. You're like, what am I meant to do for 6 hours?
Yeah, I think with that, I mean, I'm all for. Look, my motto is kind of. Josh is in the comments there. There he is. Yes, mate. He's in the comments.
You did it wrong. You did it wrong. Yes, matey.
Yes, mateys. I'm not a hypocrite, so I'm all for trying to think of ways of adapting, because we have to adapt to be able to live through living with coronavirus here in the atmosphere. I get that, but that one seems a little bit too far, because also I know it's unfair on a normal day. Like, we're very lucky to be able to go watch our teams week in, week out. There's people all around the world who would love to be in our position, so we have to be, thankful. We're blessed to be able to do that. But if you take, say, 60,000 Arsenal fans who've got season tickets or normal tickets, and then slim that down to say only 10,000 are allowed, that's really unfair for people who actually do occupy season ticket. I think you have to just wait until it's safe for everyone to come back. I think. I don't want. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. That'd be an interesting one.
That was something that, again, me and Robbie have spoken about, because how do you select the fans that are allowed to go? Do you turn around one week and say, right, this bunch are allowed in, or that bunch? And, at Arsenal, we have like platinum members, which is like box level kind of stuff and everything. And then you've got like gold members, which is what I'm on. And it's like one of the highest categories of season tickets. And then you have like silvers, red members, stuff like that. How can you tell a gold member, right, that, okay, this week you can't come in and watch Arsenal versus Manchester United, for example, but someone who pays less and on a lesser membership on red is allowed in this week?
Yeah, it's hard. And it's very difficult.
Why am I paying nearly £1,000 for my season ticket and my gold membership? And I've been going for years and years and years to accumulate this point system and get away credits and do all these things so that I am guaranteed a ticket week in, week out, away from home and everything else, to then miss out on one of the big games of the season to somebody, with all due respect, that hasn't got the membership, that hasn't got the privileges that I have, that hasn't got the money spent that I have, but yet they're allowed. How the hell? I
think that's really hard, because look, and essentially we're all one because we all support the club. I don't want us to come across like we're categorizing fans in terms of I'm a better fan than you. But I think it penalizes too many at once for it to be a fair way of doing it. And even again, to flip it, put yourself in the shoes of the teams at the other end of the table fighting for survival. If they're in the league next year, I know fans who support Watford, or I know fans who support teams down the bottom of the league, or West Ham and that, and they go into their football club is their life. Like, being able to go and support their team, whether they win, lose or draw. Look, the teams down the bottom lose more than most, so they know about heartache. They know about yo-yoing and relegations. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm putting myself in their shoes. And how awful would it be if they received a call saying, those set of fans in that stand who sit behind that goal are allowed to go, but if you sit behind the dugout because your seats are there, or you sit in the opposite stand, you lot ain't allowed to come or something. That would be kind of heartbreaking for a lot of people. So I wouldn't
it's not easy. But even on the flip side of that, you say about the teams in the lower end, but one surprise pack, or two actually, I would say, Sheffield United and Wolves, right? They rely on their home support.
Massively.
Their home support. You've been to Molineux, you've been to Bramall Lane.
I hate them two places. Have you been Bramall Lane this year? Yeah, you drew. You lost, didn't it? You lost. Yeah. Is there Pepe missed from 2 yards, isn't it? Yeah. I remember.
He didn't miss from 2 yards against Man United, did he?
Hey, he scored a tap in that day. He did. But yeah, in terms of the atmosphere, those two places, if you used to ask me some of the most hostile places I've been to this year, Wolves, I always say, because I've had to go there so many times, because we always draw them in the FA Cup, flipping last year and this year, replays, flipping Premier League. Can't buy a win at that place. Hate it at Molineux. But great atmosphere, hostile, fans on top of you. And at Sheffield United, I was taken a bit back by it. I'm not gonna lie. I was right at the front behind the goal, and I was like, "This is gonna be a hard game.
Loud.
This is gonna be a hard game."
It's loud, man. I've been
Proper
to Bramall Lane times before they came back into the Premier League, and I know exactly what it's going to be like when we went there. And like you, I was right behind the goal at the front.
It's big.
And like and I don't know what it is, but when you're further back in the stands, I don't know whether because you're surrounded by everyone and you might be under a tier or something, it kind of maybe dulls things down a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
When you're right in the front and you're in the open air and all of a sudden they're about to come out and they start playing their music. And I remember we played a night game there and they had like this light show.
They got the flight there, they got the fireworks. Yeah. Flames coming out, whatever.
Like the stands just started singing and you were like, all right, yeah.
You know what it actually does? You know what it actually does? It makes you, and this I like the way this conversation is kind of steered towards this, because I think we can give a good insight to people who would love to go to live football and encourage them to try and do it if they possibly can. I know people are watching here from far and wide and would love to be in it. And it reminds us of why we should be so happy and lucky and blessed. But it almost puts you into, it makes you feel like a player a little bit. Because when you're behind the goal, you know, like when the keeper's warming up, so De Gea's in front of me, I was like row 2 at Bramall Lane, and you're right on top of the pitch at Bramall Lane. And you can literally almost, you're so close, you can almost reach out and touch the players when you're on the front row. I've seen you when the goal happens and you see ourselves on a thing when we're on BT or when we're at the front, you get spotted by someone. But what it does is it actually enlightens you to what the players actually must feel, but having to perform at that level with that pressure. I know people say they're used to it and they're professionals, but that just shows how it can get to you. Because as a fan, I'm like, whoa, this is something. But imagine what it must be like between the sticks. You know, player Billy Sharp running through, clean on goal. The whole of Bramall Lane's up, ready for him to score. It's pressure.
Yeah, when you pull it like that, it is mad. Look, I've spoken to a few players before, and they hear everything that goes on in the crowd.
Yeah,
they hear everything, especially the goalkeepers.
Yeah,
100%. I've spoken to goalkeepers, and they're like, they've sat there 1 minute, game's going ahead, and they can just literally hear everything that's going on behind, and the moans and the groans about your teammate. You know, you could be sitting there in goal and your player's up the other end and he's just missed a chance, and all you can hear is like, "You useless." And it's like, and the goalkeepers, they're like, "Yeah, I just heard that."
Just like the man that would go take the throw-ins. You know what I mean? Well, Hector Bellerin went take a throw-in at Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park and got an absolute earful from your fans. So
the thing is, it wasn't actually directed at Hector at the time, and I've tried explaining to people, Hector was in the unfortunate position of
for Arsenal.
He was in the unfortunate position of playing on that right-hand side and having to take a throw-in in front of our fans just after we went 3-0 down, and it was all going mad at the end of Wenger's reign. And I said it, if we were shooting the other way and it was the left back, it would have been Nacho Monreal, or whoever was playing that night would have got that abuse. It was just that poor Hector that night was the one that was directly there and had it, man. And, you know, you don't think of it at the time, but I have looked at certain scenarios when I've, you know, had time to think and reflect and think, Jesus, man, can you imagine what that's like? Yeah, just having people that you think are your own, like ripping in. And, you know, again, we go back to, I've spoke to players and they don't mind criticism. You know, when we went up to Dubai a year ago, and like Robbie and everyone was saying to Lacazette at the hotel we were staying in, and when we was in Singapore, and Lacazette and that turned around and said, "I watch AFTV. I don't mind any of you giving me criticism. I like it." You know, but there's a difference between calling someone a CUNT or this, that, the other, to turning around and saying, you know what I mean, you played poorly today. You wasn't great. There was a game last season, I think it was, where Aubameyang, Leicester away actually, towards the end of the season under Unai Emery, and his work rate was just dreadful. And me and Troops went in on him, and we love Aubameyang, and we went in on him.
Was that near the end of last season when you lost 3-1 or something? 3-0?
Yeah, right towards the end. And we actually messaged him and said, your work rate was shocking. There's no excuse for it. And he turned around and said, I appreciate your comments and that, and thank you for being honest. Because it was constructive. It wasn't like, you're useless, fucking this, that, the other. It was, listen, that weren't acceptable, man. And we just voiced our opinion. And a lot of players respect that.
We have to do it. Look, I've again spoken to players as well. And not even just from players. I think, again, we've got amazing platforms and we're able to do some amazing things. But mainly we stand for the fans. And I think what I've learned going through, doing fan cams and speaking to fans week in, week out, like yourselves, is that I actually have a bit of a duty as well in terms of the conversation. And if maybe someone does say something that is overboard, maybe that's where I do need to step in as a presenter or interviewee and say, you know what, let's just keep it to football. Don't call him a effing this or a fat this or a lanky this or a this or that, talking about appearance or talking about, it's just not football related. And also, like, these are just normal people. And most of these people who say this in the fan cam ain't going to see these people in real life by themselves and say it in Sainsbury's. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That abuse that Jesse Lingard got when he got off on the bus at Derby was absolutely horrendous. Never seen anything like it before. And it's a disgrace. Is Jesse Lingard playing poorly? Absolutely. Has he been playing poorly for a long time? Absolutely. So keep it football. Say, I don't think he's good enough to play for us. I think we need a better player. Yeah, you might swear at the odd time, but to attack him as he's getting on the bus, he's done his football, he's played his football, or he's about to get on the bus and go home. Why do you have to go behind the railing and say, you effing this, you are this, you're a disgrace, you're that, you're that? To me, that's just a level above. And some of the older fans or the hardcore fans might say you're just being a snowflake, mate. If he's shit, you tell him to his face he's shit and all that. But I'm just like, Jesse Lingard isn't going on the pitch and trying to play crap. He's not. He's not. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, things might have gone downhill for him, or I'm just using him as an example. But any player who plays poorly, don't put on that shirt and go, right, I'm going to make sure I have an absolute stinker. I want the crowd to be throwing things at me and shouting at me. That's never their intention. So, it's hard. So we've got to be careful.
We had the prime example was Granit Xhaka. Now, I will stand by what happened inside the stadium with Granit Xhaka when he took off the captain's armband, threw it at Aubameyang, and then gestured towards the fans. If I remember rightly, at that game, we needed to get a goal back into the game or something, and he just trudged off the pitch. So him being shouted to by the fans saying, get off the pitch, come on, move. That's justifiable because everyone's looking at him going, what are you walking for? We're not winning. Not like we're comfortable and you're getting a round of applause. Get off the pitch. We need to win this game. And then when he starts reacting to us and giving it, and then fans start booing, that is what it is. But it's after that I don't agree with, because we see it that people were going on social media and they were abusing his wife and his kids, and he had to disable comments and stuff like that. And I was like, no. I said, despite the fact that I'm fuming about what he's done and that he should never have done that, and I don't think he should have played for Arsenal again, throwing a captain's armband and walking off the pitch the way that he did. And
it's a shit attitude, isn't it?
And because as a fan as well, that hurts. Seeing a player that does that. We spend so much money to go and watch these who are, don't matter what age you are, whether you're 10 years old or you're 40, 50 years old, these are your heroes. These are what you go to work for every week and work hard to earn the money to go and watch them week in, week out. And when you see them do that, it hurts.
Yeah.
So,
it does. I
don't mind that. I don't mind that side of things because it's raw emotion. And it's not abusive. It's booing someone and saying, get off the pitch because you don't agree.
Because you're taking too long. We need, what's best for the team is we need you off so we can. Kieran B says it best there. If playing below the standard your club requires, expect criticism. And that's what it's about. Because at the same time, I'm just saying we shouldn't go overboard. We should absolutely be criticising performance. We should absolutely be dissecting the things they did wrong. We should absolutely be expressing our opinions on what we think should happen. Yeah, we don't have UEFA A licenses and whatever, but that doesn't mean we're a consumer of a product. We're a consumer of a piece of entertainment, which means, therefore, we're allowed to have an opinion on it. If I pay £12 to go watch a film at Cineworld, yeah, I'm allowed to have an opinion of that film after I've seen it. If I watch something on the TV, I'm allowed to do that because I'm a consumer of that. And that's where footballers 100% need to understand. I'm not going to say who it was, but I've been speaking to quite a few ex-footballers with some work that I've been doing, which should be coming out later in the year, right? It's been brilliant. I loved it. Some of the characters and old players that I've been speaking to have been brilliant. But you know what one of them said to me, and I won't say their name. They said, Flex, man, the fan stuff you do, yeah, how do you fans like get so angry and all of this like shouting outside the stadium or angry and let it ruin your week? Because I've played the game, and I tell you now, yeah, I'm pissed off when I leave the pitch when we leave and that. But when I get in my car, I'm driving home to my missus and that. Like, it's my job. Like, I switch off on that. And you know what? I explained to him how we felt as fans. But after I left the conversation, I was like, you know what? This is what I need to understand more. And I have done over the last year or so being in this space. Like, we're speaking to more ballers and ex-ballers. It's like, this is their job. Like, as much as we love the club, so we'll be here before them and after them, always, whether it's managers and players. Like they say, managers come and go, fans stay. But like, we would love a player. We all want that player to love the club as much as we do as fans. When in reality, a very, very, very small percentage of players will ever love our club like we do. Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, they're an employer. They'll love the club while they're there. They appreciate the fans. But then I spent my 2 years there and move on to a different club. Because guess what? This is no like me and you getting a different job and working in a different shop or a different finance company or a different insurance company. If I leave Churchill and go to flipping, I don't know, AA insurance, so what? I ain't got no loyalty to Churchill. I moved on. You know what I mean? So I think that side of it is true, isn't it? They're just players, and sometimes they don't really care.
I get what you're saying. I'm just waiting for someone to put a joke in about how Mark left Nottingham Forest for Man United. No, you get where we're coming from with a fan's perspective, and I just feel that there's a lot of players now that don't get why the fans are the way that they are. They don't get, you know, where we're coming from in a sense. And yourself, like what you were saying, I've spoke to loads of Arsenal players from years gone by, from when I was growing up, late 80s, 90s players and whatnot. And they said that, you know, Kevin Campbell's a prime example, openly goes on AFTV, speaks to everyone, spoken to him. And he said, don't think that we never used to get abused before fan cams. He goes, I'd be there on the pitch, yeah, and I was always compared to like Ian Wright because he was the strike partner. And Ian Wright was the one that used to score the goals. Kevin Campbell used to create them. But everyone, he used to hear everyone on the touch, oh, Kevin, you're useless. Why don't you score the goals? You, this, that, the other. Going down the tunnel, he goes, there was one guy that used to constantly, every single home game, used to lean over at the tunnel at Highbury and just give him abuse as he walks down the tunnel.
Saying, why? Your own players.
He's like, don't think that this is a new thing, a modern thing, that fans were all sweetness and light and we'd all go to the pub together in the supporters club after the game and get pissed up and whatever. And it's, yeah, lovely. He said, we used to get abuse. He goes, it's just that the platforms are there now for you to express your opinions and for everybody around the world to see. You know, Manchester United or Arsenal can play a game and within 10 minutes, somebody in Australia can see the thoughts of me or you or whoever about the game that's just played. Do you know what I mean? Where's that weren't happening in the 80s or 90s?
Yeah. And if it was, like you said before when we was on a separate call yesterday, about something else, but you were saying it, if that was about then the same people would have used it.
I see it all the time. I have this argument all the time. I have all the old school lot trying to talk to me about this modern technology and moving on with the times, and you know, it would never have happened in the 80s or 90s. Yes, it would.
Yeah, it would have. If it was there, it would have. Yeah.
Because if Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and all that was accessible in the 80s, if iPhones was accessible in the 80s, if you could have cameras and all the technology we have now in the 80s, you would have had it.
Yeah.
You would have had it. Do you know what I mean? It's like when they had you remember you used to get the old cameras, right, with a little wind up on the thing.
Yeah, to wind it to take a picture each time.
You didn't know if that picture come out how it was. You just had to wait and pray that had been taken properly. Whoever you pass the camera to, please, Lord, make sure you've taken that picture. And then you have like Polaroids. When Polaroids come out and you can get an instant picture, like if you got the money or you can buy it, I'm buying it, because that's, you know what I mean? Everything's an upgrade. Everything. Of course, you would have used it in the 80s. What, they think YouTube would have been around in the 80s and video.
It is mad. It is mad. Listen, we've come to the end of the show. We've gone over, actually. What great. It's always good to catch up, man. Every time we catch up, we always catch a vibe. Thanks for coming on, man, and thanks for sharing those thoughts and opinions, and like for you guys in the comments. Over 2,000 people watching, which is fantastic. Smash a like on the video, share the video. DT, you want to big up your socials or your channel and stuff like that? Make sure people know.
Yeah, I think most of the Man United fans know what my socials are.
For the abuse that they give you.
Always giving me loads of abuse. So yeah, YouTube, Mr. DT, and all the other socials, Mr. DT AFC. So make sure you go and follow.
Absolutely. I'm Flex UTD across all of the socials. Check out my channel, The Flex, as well. Got the Andy Cole interview dropping in about an hour's time, actually, for about 3 p.m. So just shorter than that. Check it out. It's going to be a good watch. And also check out my Instagram live later on, 8 p.m. today. I said the people with kids, you got an extra hour to put the kids to bed. Jump in the comments, whatever. Come rave it up, DT. I don't know what you're doing, but you'll be in there somewhere.
You're getting dropped.
Oh, 100%. I got sent like 6 cases.
Randomly, I'll just send you a bit of abuse in the comments. Make sure you read it out, and then I'll disappear again for a bit.
That's it, man. Just come and do your customary thing. But the sun's shining. The sun's been shining pretty much all week, so it's a nice way to end the week into a bank holiday as well. Make sure you follow United Stand across all the socials as well. And we will see you guys very, very soon. We're out of here. Peace.